This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, November 6th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
The Louisville UPS crash investigation begins.
It is burned and mangled wreckage beyond anything I've ever seen.
I'm Rich Johnson.
Conservative justices on the Supreme Court sound skeptical of the legality of President Trump's sweeping unilateral tariffs. Jennifer King, Washington.
The Federal Aviation Administration says it will reduce air traffic by 10% across 40 high-volume markets at Donahue, Washington.
Partial funding but growing uncertainty surrounding SNAP.
They gave it to anybody that wanted it.
I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, stocks rebounded yesterday from Tuesday's sell-off as the Supreme Court questioned the tariffs. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
A man charged with groping the president of Mexico. And the U.S. government warns beware of bogus Botox. All ahead on America in the Morning. The National Transportation Safety Board says an engine fell off the UPS jet that crashed just after takeoff Tuesday in Louisville, Kentucky. Correspondent Rich Johnson says the plane's black boxes have been recovered as the investigation continues.
The initial shock captured on dash cams, security cams, and phones showed a scene of intense, immediate devastation that Congressman Morgan McGarvey called,
It's like a scene out of a Terminator movie. It is burned and mangled wreckage beyond anything I've ever seen.
Now that shock has given way to a grim but calm assessment of the damage and the casualties.
And I can now confirm that there are 12 fatalities.
Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg. Authorities also believe that as many as 16 people are missing. Dennis Truman, who owns a fencing company in the area, was told it could be a week before he'll be allowed near his building. As for possible damage,
we have no clue. We're hoping the best. We've heard from a couple other people that assume that their businesses weren't touched, and we just hope that that's with ours as well.
Truman's comment courtesy of WAVE. The wide-body jet had just taken off from Muhammad Ali International Airport, which is UPS's hub. It was bound for Honolulu, but lost control shortly after takeoff and crashed into a light industrial area, leaving a half-mile trail of jet-fueled fire.
And we have viewed airport CCTV security coverage, which shows the left engine detaching from the wing during the takeoff roll.
NTSB spokesperson Todd Inman says the investigation will include a slow, methodical examination of every square inch of the runway.
We need to not only take drone coverage and video coverage of where every piece of this evidence is, but then we need to recover it and tag it, and those will give us even more pieces of information.
The UPS Louisville crash brings to mind the 1979 crash of American Airlines Flight 191 shortly after takeoff from Chicago's O'Hare Airport. In that crash, the left engine fell off, later blamed on improper maintenance procedures. That plane, then known as the DC-10, is now known as the MD-11, the model that crashed in Louisville. I'm Rich Johnson.
The Supreme Court heard arguments in a case involving President Trump's tariffs in a $1 trillion challenge of his executive use of emergency powers. Correspondent Jennifer King reports some of the conservative justices seemed skeptical of the president's tariff plan.
Conservative justices on the Supreme Court sound skeptical of the legality of President Trump's sweeping unilateral tariffs in two cases where small businesses are challenging executive caveat.
Yet plaintiffs argue that tariffs, IEEPA's least blunt and most nimble tool, are virtually the only tool that Congress did not grant the president to deal with foreign emergencies. That is wrong.
The plaintiffs say the president should not be using EPA, a 1977 emergency powers law, to regulate imports, and that the uncertainty is driving them to the brink of bankruptcy.
Tariffs are taxes. They take dollars from Americans' pockets and deposit them in the U.S. Treasury. Our founders gave that taxing power to Congress alone. Yet here, the president bypassed Congress and imposed one of the largest tax increases in our lifetimes. Many doctrines explain why this is illegal.
The second case questions whether the statute unconstitutionally delegates authority from Congress to the president.
So what the statute reflects is there's going to be the ability for a sort of political consensus against a declared emergency.
Well, what happens when the president simply vetoes legislation to try to take these powers back?
Well, he has the authority to veto legislation to terminate a national emergency, for example. I mean, he retains the powers in the background because AIPA is still on the books. But if he declares an emergency and Congress doesn't like it and passes a joint resolution, yes, he can absolutely veto that.
Yeah, Congress, as a practical matter, can't get this power back once it's handed it over to the president. It's a one-way ratchet toward the gradual but continual accretion of power in the executive branch and away from the people's elected representatives.
I disagree with that.
The government argues that tariffs can be imposed in emergency situations and fall under foreign affairs. Plaintiff's attorney, Neil Katyal.
Look at their emergency statutes. Not one has ever given the president a taxation power or a tariff power. We've had all sorts of emergencies for 238 years. No president has ever said, oh, the way to deal with that is I need to have a tariff authority.
Trump has said a ruling against him would be catastrophic for the economy. A decision is not expected for weeks or months. Jennifer King, Washington.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. It's the Sleep Number Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with cozy, soothing comfort. Save on mattress and base bundles plus free premium delivery. Limited time only at Sleep Number or sleepnumber.com. Air travel over the nation's skies will become less congested when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. Portions of the East experiencing high winds this morning. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Gusty conditions do continue for a time in the northeastern states, but not nearly as strong as places experienced Wednesday evening, like Reading, Pennsylvania, with a wind gust of 61 miles per hour as a line of showers crossed that area, in association with a cold front that put an end to what was a much less cool day for some. Lingering gusts to 35 miles per hour or more will most likely be confined to near coastal areas from Long Island to Maine, but it does take all day for the wind to truly calm down for much of eastern Virginia and Pennsylvania before the breeze builds right back tomorrow ahead of the next storm in this active storm track. Rain and snow showers build over parts of New York and northern Pennsylvania today, as well as parts of New England. Another area caught within the active storm track is the Northwest, and the second storm in as many days delivers another round of steady rain and mountain snow from far northern California into much of Oregon and Washington through much of the day tomorrow. The heaviest storm total rainfall of at least 1 to 2 inches from this event should be focused farther to the north this time, favoring places from extreme northwestern California to western Oregon and Washington, with a separate zone of similar rain from the Idaho-Montana border southward to northeast of Boise and into northeastern Oregon. Outside of the steady rain, more showery precipitation can be expected from eastern Washington south and west toward the northern part of the California-Nevada border. While many other parts of the nation look dry today, a storm starting to build over the upper Midwest brings increasing coverage of showers late today or most likely by tonight, and there may be a touch of snow in the northern Colorado Rockies. In Burlington, Vermont, breezy conditions and early clouds give way to some sun, high 43. For Ogden, Utah, morning showers clear out for a mix of cloud and sun and a cooler day, the high 57. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The Federal Aviation Administration will reduce flight capacity by 10%. That's thousands of flights at 40 major airports across the country starting Friday. Ed Donahue reports this is a direct result of the government shutdown, and both unpaid controllers and TSA agents are not showing up for work.
The Federal Aviation Administration says it will reduce air traffic by 10% across 40 high-volume markets starting Friday morning. FAA Administrator Brian Bedford says the reduction during the government shutdown will impact thousands of flights nationwide.
When we see pressures building in these 40 markets, we just can't ignore it, and we're not going to wait for a safety problem to truly manifest itself when the early indicators are telling us we can take action today to prevent things from deteriorating.
There have been staffing shortages among air traffic controllers who've been working without a paycheck. Some have called in sick.
The system is extremely safe today. It will be extremely safe tomorrow. And if the pressures continue to build, even after we take these measures, we'll come back and take additional measures.
Major airlines, aviation unions, and the travel industry have been urging Congress to end the shutdown. Ed Donahue, Washington.
The historic government shutdown has low-income Americans on edge. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP was set to run out in November amid the government shutdown, but a court order kept partial payments coming. According to the U.S. Treasury Secretary, those funds are going out this week. The administration said Monday in a court filing that it would fulfill its obligation to expend funds during an emergency using reserve money to cover 50% of eligible households. But President Trump now calling the program into question.
That was for people that really had problems, down and out, people that really had problems. But during Biden, they gave it to anybody that wanted it. I think it's something you have to talk about because the numbers are incredible.
Food banks nationwide are ramping up food assistance and local governments are chipping in. In the meantime, the uncertainty alone impacting Americans who are wondering when and where their next paycheck may be coming from. I'm Clayton Neville.
When we return on America in the Morning, Supreme Court weighs the legality of Trump's tariff plan after these messages. America in the Morning continues. The Business Report is sponsored by Gusto. Gusto is a simple online payroll and benefits tool built for small businesses. Learn more at gusto.com/radio. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a rebound for stocks yesterday following the Tuesday sell-off. The Dow up 225 points. The Nasdaq added 150. Investors liked how the Supreme Court appeared skeptical on the legality of the Trump tariffs.
The tariff thing, obviously the market probably would celebrate it if, in fact, some tariffs had to be refunded. Although that would push against the idea that we're going to get kind of a clean 2026 where we just kind of know what we're dealing with.
That's CNBC's Mike Santoli. There is no timeline for a decision from the court.
The one thing that raised my eyebrows was the degree of skepticism that you heard from some of these conservative justices, including some of the Trump appointees to the Supreme Court, who were pushing back on the Trump administration's argument that this 1977 law known as IEEPA does give the president the authority to conduct tariffs as well as to regulate global commerce. The argument here is that, of course, the Constitution gives Congress the authority to raise taxes and to issue tariffs, not the executive branch. And therefore, unless Congress very explicitly says we're going to delegate that power to the executive branch, it hasn't done so.
CNBC's Eamon Javers in Washington. Meantime, Amazon, Walmart, and Target have all raised prices this year. Retailers have been grappling with higher costs because of the Trump tariffs. Amazon raised prices the most, by 13.8% on average, according to research firm DataWeave. Fewer people applied for mortgages last week to buy a home with interest rates moving around, and yesterday the average rate on a 30-year home loan ticked higher, now almost 6.4%, according to Mortgage News Daily. McDonald's reported mixed quarterly results.
We are seeing commentary around the Hispanic population and the fact that they are not gathering anymore. They're not, frankly, going out as much and things of that nature in a lot of different names.
Right. And I think that wherever people gather to buy things, if you have 16% of the population that may be afraid to go somewhere, you're not going to make your numbers. And I think that it's starting to dawn on people that the biggest issue in this country is we can't find people to work, and the people who could work are afraid to go out of their homes.
CNBC Mad Money host Jim Cramer with CNBC's David Faber. The Starbucks union voted to authorize a strike in 25 cities on November 13th. That's Starbucks Red Cup Day. On today's watch list, earnings are coming from Warner Brothers Discovery, Affirm, Airbnb, and Take-Two Interactive. Tesla holds its annual shareholder meeting tonight with a $1 trillion pay package for Elon Musk on the table.
Wow. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, FDA crackdown on Botox. When America in the Morning returns after these messages. A man has been accused of groping the president of Mexico. It happened while Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum spoke with citizens in the street in Mexico City's historic downtown. The man appeared to lean in to kiss her and then touched the president's breasts with his hands. Sheinbaum pushed the man away, and a government official who was with the Mexican president intervened. Sheinbaum then filed charges against the man, who appeared drunk at the time, saying that if she doesn't file a complaint, then what message would that send to women of Mexico? The episode raised questions about the first female president of Mexico's security. Back home, the FDA is cracking down on websites selling unapproved Botox for cosmetic purposes after reports of dangerous and even toxic side effects. Lisa Dwyer reports.
The Food and Drug Administration sent warning letters to 18 websites selling counterfeit or unapproved versions of Botox after receiving reports of injuries, including toxic side effects. Botox is a diluted, purified form of one of the most toxic substances in the world. In rare cases, the toxin can spread beyond the injection site to other parts of the body, paralyzing or weakening muscles needed for breathing and swallowing. The FDA says patients should only receive the drugs from health professionals who are licensed and trained to administer them, and urges anyone experiencing signs of botulism to seek immediate medical care. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
America in the Morning for Thursday, November 6th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
President Trump is reacting to last night's election results.
I don't think it was good for Republicans.
Ed Donahue, Washington.
The government shutdown reaches a historic milestone. I'm Clayton Neville.
President Trump lays down the hammer on Senate Republicans to end the government shutdown.
Terminate the filibuster.
I'm Joan Jones.
A federal judge has scolded prosecutors in the criminal case of former FBI Director James Comey. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Starbucks' union members have voted to strike at U.S. stores next week unless the company finalizes a contract agreement. I'm Haya Panjwani.
More reboots and sequels are coming down the pipeline in Hollywood. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. Here's the Thursday forecast with AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
The second of two rather strong disturbances slamming on shore in the Pacific Northwest will arrive through the day today, with another round of enhanced steady rain at times for western Washington and Oregon, and eventually some showers from northern California into all but eastern Oregon and just about all the rest of Washington. Some of the precipitation is likely to fall as an icy mix, if not simply some snow for the Cascades. Rain from this event through tomorrow will be generally focused farther to the north than Wednesday's event, with a general 1 to 2 inches of rain expected from far northwestern California into much of western Oregon and basically all of western Washington, also spilling into the Blue Mountains of northeastern Oregon, adjacent portions of northern and central Idaho, and along the northern part of the Idaho-Montana border, with gusty winds most likely near the coast this time. Speaking of strong winds, today starts out quite gusty around the northeast as a storm quickly becomes rather intense while pulling away into Atlantic Canada, with strong high pressure building in rather close behind over the mid-Atlantic. Some gusts may still exceed 35 miles per hour for a time this morning over portions of Long Island and coastal New England, especially toward Cape Cod. Much of the region ends up dry by the afternoon as any lingering steady rain exits eastern Maine, but showers of rain and, yes, snow can be expected to start the day from northern Pennsylvania into central New York, with flurries perhaps lasting all day over northern Vermont and New Hampshire and northwestern Maine. Other than that, showers may cross the Canadian border into far northern North Dakota and Minnesota by day's end as a storm gets better organized over Canada, but precipitation becomes more likely at night in those zones. A large chunk of the rest of the nation looks dry today as some warmer air spreads from the southwest into the center of the nation. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. President Trump reacts after a blue wave led to a double-digit victory by Democrats for governor in New Jersey and Virginia, a landslide win for California's Proposition 50, and a self-proclaimed Democrat socialist for mayor in New York City. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports that Zohran Mamdani wasted little time setting up his mayoral transition in New York.
New York City's mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani has announced his transition team. The team is all women. That includes former Deputy Mayor Melanie Hartzog and former Federal Trade Commission Chair Lena Khan.
Some of these people will have familiar names. Others will not. What will unite them will be a commitment to solving old problems with new solutions. We will cast a wide net.
The 34-year-old Democratic socialist will soon become New York City's first Muslim mayor, the first of South Asian heritage, the first born in Africa, and the youngest mayor in more than a century.
We will form an administration that is in equal parts capable and compassionate, driven by integrity, and willing to work just as hard as the millions of New Yorkers who call this city home.
Among Mamdani's campaign promises, free childcare, free city bus service, city-run grocery stores, and a new Department of Community Safety that sends mental health care workers rather than police to handle certain emergency calls.
On November 5th, 2024, the American people reclaimed our government. We restored our sovereignty. We lost a little bit of sovereignty last night in New York, but we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it.
President Trump is reacting to last night's election results. At the White House, the president noted 1 year ago today he won the presidential election.
Last night, it was, not expected to be a victory. It was very Democrat areas, but I don't think it was good for Republicans. I don't think it was good. I'm not sure it was good for anybody.
Democrats won the governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia. Democratic socialist Zohran Mamdani was elected mayor of New York City.
If you read the pollsters, the shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans, and that was a big factor. And they say that I wasn't on the ballot was the biggest factor.
Voters in California also approved a plan to overhaul the state's congressional district boundaries, giving Democrats a boost. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says it was a five-alarm fire for Donald Trump.
The Republicans' high-cost House is on fire, and they've only got themselves to blame.
Many voters expressed dissatisfaction with the president's handling of the economy. Ed Donahue, Washington.
The U.S. government shutdown continues as the longest in American history. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
The government shutdown approaches a 37th day after becoming the longest shutdown in American history on day 36. The impacts are becoming clearer each day, especially at the airports. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says that resources are strained, and because of that, 40 locations nationwide will be seeing a 10% capacity reduction to allow for more sustainability while the government is shut down.
We had to have a gut check of what is our job. Is it to make sure there's minimal delays or minimal cancellations, or is our job to make sure we make the hard decisions to continue to keep the airspace safe?
President Trump was criticized by some early in the shutdown for not talking about it much, but he's increasingly discussing the impacts.
Countless public servants are now not being paid, and the air traffic control system is under increasing strain.
A day after the November 4th elections in America, Democratic House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said that the Democrats' success nationwide Tuesday was a reflection of the shutdown and Trump administration policies.
Republican policies are crushing people, particularly as it relates to the cost of living and health care, and the American people are rejecting that extremism.
Political experts say there appears to be some hope that the ramped up pressure could lead to a deal.
It does seem like talks have begun in the U.S. Senate that will lead to an end to the shutdown, but it might not be immediate.
Cal Jilson is a political science professor at Southern Methodist University.
I think what will happen is that enough Democrats will agree to open the government if Republicans will promise that there'll be a vote on Obamacare subsidies on a date certain, meaning a specific date.
Meanwhile, on the top of the SNAP section of the USDA website, a notification reads, quote, Senate Democrats have voted 14 times against reopening the government. This compromises not only SNAP, but farm programs, food inspection, animal and plant disease protection, as well as protecting federal lands. I'm Clayton Neville.
The pressure is on to end the government shutdown by eliminating the Senate filibuster. But as President Trump is leading the charge, Senate leadership is against the idea. Correspondent Joan Jones reports.
At a breakfast hosted by the president for Senate Republicans yesterday, Trump hit the idea of a nuclear option to end the filibuster hard.
It's time for Republicans to do what they have to do, and that's terminate the filibuster. It's the only way you can do it.
And he encouraged the senators to then get to work on GOP legislation right away.
We should start tonight with the country's open. Congratulations. Then we should pass voter ID. We should pass no mail-in voting. We should pass all the things that we want to pass, make our elections secure and safe.
Now, ending the filibuster would end the need for the Senate to gather 60 votes to pass a budget measure, opting instead for a simple majority. That's been a hard no for Senate Majority Leader John Thune since the beginning of his leadership.
One of my priorities as leader will be to ensure that the Senate stays the Senate. That means preserving the legislative filibuster. The Senate rule that today has perhaps the greatest impact on preserving the founders' vision of the United States Senate.
And after the breakfast gathering, Thune was asked about the filibuster, and in his words, he said, "I know where the math is on the issue in the Senate, and it's just not happening." However, he's hearing more now from fellow Republicans that it's time. Georgia's Marjorie Taylor Greene has expressed her support, as has Arkansas Senator Tommy Tuberville.
Okay, if we need to bust it, let's bust it. Let's knock it down to 51. And if we don't, we're going to lose our country. It's going to be over with.
Eliminating the filibuster would be a simple process once a measure that triggers a filibuster threat is introduced in the Senate. I'm Joan Jones.
When we return on America in the Morning, among the stories we're covering, AI meets Google Maps after these messages. The U.S. versus Comey lawsuit continues. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports that the judge in the James Comey case has ordered prosecutors to produce records in the action the judge called an indict first, investigate later litigation.
A federal judge has scolded prosecutors in the criminal case of former FBI Director James Comey, ordering prosecutors to produce grand jury materials and other evidence from the investigation by the end of Thursday, citing concern that the Justice Department's position has been to indict first and investigate later. Comey is charged with lying to Congress in a case filed after President Donald Trump appeared to urge his attorney general to prosecute Comey and other perceived political enemies. In late July, Trump told reporters,
"After what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people."
Comey's attorneys say that they have not been able to review materials gathered years ago, while also arguing that the case is a vindictive prosecution brought at the direction of the president and must be dismissed. Comey has pleaded not guilty. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The FBI has widened their investigation into a suspected Michigan terror plot. 2 men in New Jersey have been charged as part of the ISIS-inspired terrorist plan to attack LGBTQ bars on Halloween. One suspect, a 21-year-old man of Iranian descent, was arrested at his home in Montclair, New Jersey, while the other, who had posed in front of an ISIS flag, was apprehended at Newark Liberty Airport, preparing to board a flight to Turkey, where he planned on joining ISIS fighters in neighboring Syria. The suspects were part of a signal chat of 15 individuals who talked about supporting ISIS and going to fight with it. Last week, the FBI arrested 3 men in Michigan and in one of their homes found a cache of weapons. America in the Morning continues. Get that pumpkin spice latte while you can. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports on a potential work action at Starbucks.
Starbucks' union members have voted to strike at U.S. stores next week unless the company finalizes a contract agreement. The strike would start on November 13th, which is the day Starbucks plans to distribute free, reusable red cups. Red Cup Day is usually one of the company's busiest days of the year. The union organizing baristas, Starbucks Workers United, didn't say how many stores would be impacted, But it said workers in at least 25 cities plan to strike and more locations could be added. The union has been organizing workers since about 2021, but hasn't agreed to a contract with the company. Around 550 of Starbucks' 10,000 company-operated U.S. stores are unionized. I'm Haya Panjwani.
The son of golf's most famous modern-day player is receiving recognition for his own performance. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports.
The son of Tiger Woods is an All-American. Charlie Woods was selected on the first-team All-America list by the American Junior Golf Association. His famous father was the AJGA Player of the Year in 1991 and 92. Charlie Woods is a junior at the Benjamin School in South Florida. Woods won his first big title at the Team TaylorMade Invitational in May. The teams were determined exclusively through the Rolex AJGA rankings as of October 14th. I'm Gethin Coolball.
Google claims that more than 2 billion people use Google Maps every month. Now, thanks to an AI upgrade, they'll be able to have a more natural and immersive conversation with it while they drive. Chuck Palm has the story in today's Tech Report.
Google Maps is getting a brand new Gemini-powered overhaul that will replace the clunky old assistant with a brand new AI brain transplant. The new Gemini voice assistant will replace the old model for a natural back and forth where you can simply talk during your commute with natural language responses. You could ask for specifics like types of food, get notified during rush hour traffic delays, or find a specific gas station. Street View's getting smarter with sharper turn-by-turn directions and landmark cues. Instead of the old right in 500 feet, it can tell you to turn after the school zone. Google has pulled data from over 250 million spots, cutting the confusion when you're on unfamiliar turf. For more tech news, follow me on X at Chuck Palm.
Here's Thursday Sports on America in the Morning with Robert Workman.
Alex Ovechkin became the first NHL player to reach 900 goals last night as the Capitals punished the Blues 6-1.
It's a huge number. No one ever did it in NHL history, and be first player ever do it. It's a special moment.
The grade 8 passed Wayne Gretzky last year as the sport's all-time goal scorer. Blackhawks blasted the Canucks 5-2, all of the scoring coming in period 3, including Tyler Bertuzzi's hat trick. It was the Maple Leafs over the Mammoth, the Sharks swallowed the Kraken, and the Flames burned the Blue Jackets. NBA, the roll of the Thunder ended in Portland last night. The Blazers beat the champs 121-119, ending OKC's 8-0 start. The Thunder jumped out to a 22-point lead in the first quarter, but the Blazers just chipped away the rest of the night, finally grabbing the lead midway through the fourth. Denny Avdia had 26 points, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 35 in the loss. Meanwhile, at the other end of the standings, the Nets defeated the Pacers 112-103 for their first win after an 0-7 start. Michael Porter Jr. with 32 points. Donovan Mitchell poured in 46 to lead the Cavaliers past the Sixers. Rockets won their 5th straight, beating the Grizzlies. Lakers got 35 from Luka Doncic as they held off the Spurs for their 5th win in a row. Knicks sawed off the Timberwolves. New York 5-0 at home to start the season. Kings topped the Warriors. Russell Westbrook notched his first triple-double for Sacramento. That's his 204th all-time, the most ever. Nuggets put the Heat on ice, a 33-point triple-double for Nikola Jokic. He's 3rd on that list. Pistons bopped the Jazz. Pelicans nipped the Mavericks, and the Celtics walloped the Wizards. NFL Week 10 kicks off tonight in Denver with the Raiders at the Broncos. The Cardinals put quarterback Kyler Murray on injured reserve. A foot injury that has kept him out since Week 5 will keep him out for the rest of November at least. Jacoby Brissett will continue to fill in. That's Thursday Sports.
And there's your look at sports. When we return on America in the Morning, the state of Florida says, "Aw shucks," to oyster harvesting. After these messages. Welcome back to America in the Morning. Attention oyster lovers. Correspondent Jennifer King reports that the state of Florida is lifting a 5-year ban on oyster harvesting in an area that at one time sold 10% of all oysters sold nationally.
Oysters from Florida's Apalachicola Bay are known for being plump and sweet, but the waters where they grow have been closed for 5 years due to dwindling populations. Now, shellfish lovers and the historic waterfront town, which used to host a booming oyster industry, have something to look forward to. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission just approved a plan to reopen the bay for a limited oyster season beginning January 1st. A conservation analysis found only 5% of the bay's historic oyster habitat remains, as the fishery was challenged by decreased freshwater flows, predation, overharvesting, habitat loss, and hurricanes. Some locals think the plan might be jumping the gun. Others have signed a petition opposing the new regulations as too restrictive. Commercial oystermen with a history of working the bay get application preference. Florida residents can go through a lottery to get recreational permits. I'm Jennifer King.
October, a slow month for heading to theaters, which included a lackluster Halloween weekend. However, as entertainment reporter Kevin Carr reports, a number of previous hits will be getting new movies, including a pig, mummies, and a K-pop band.
Everything that's old is new again. That saying goes double and triple in Hollywood. While she was a guest on the Las Culturistas podcast with Bowen Yang and Matt Rogers, Jennifer Lawrence let it slip that her and Emma Stone will be working with one of the biggest divas in movies.
I don't know if I can announce this, but I'm just gonna. Emma Stone and I are producing a Miss Piggy movie.
Cole Escola from Broadway's Oh Mary will write the script.
I am Miss Piggy. What can you expect from the show? Well, of course. What else would you want to see?
Also in the reboot machine, according to The Hollywood Reporter, there will be a new follow-up to The Mummy. No, not the 2017 attempt with Tom Cruise. This will be a sequel to Stephen Sommers' 1999 film series.
Are we going into battle?
There's something out there. Something underneath that sand.
Both Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz are expected to return. Radio Silence directors Matt Beninelli Open and Tyler Gillett, who successfully rebooted the Scream franchise, will be at the helm for this installment. And finally, one of the biggest surprise hits of 2025 is getting a sequel.
The world will know you as pop stars, but you will be hunters.
K-pop Demon Hunters 2 is officially in the works for a release on Netflix. However, it's not going to be for a while.
I feel like we got a nice little break.
Yeah, I definitely feel recharged.
Me too.
Because animation is so time-consuming, don't expect this film to hit the stream until sometime in 2029. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Thursday, November 6th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.